Okay, I'm going to call the meeting, the regular council meeting of the Newport City Council to order at 6 p.m. on Monday, February 23rd. Present, we have council members Carter Finnegan, Andrew Touchette, John Manette, Kevin Charbonneau, President of the Council, Jim Johnson, the Clerk Treasurer, is here, Carrie Schultz, our Financial and Office Administrator, is here. I don't think we have any other staff in the room, and I don't think we have any other staff online tonight. And my name, for those who haven't met me before, is Rick Ufford Chase. I'm the mayor. Glad to have all of you with us. So, council members, item number 2, additions and deletions. Anybody have any additions or deletions you'd like to add to the agenda before we start?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3. We have a consent agenda. It includes 3 sets of minutes from the 2nd of February, the 21st of January, the 26th of January, which was a public hearing. We have AP warrants, 3 of those as well, from the 4th of February, the 9th of February, and the 13th of February. We have payroll warrants for the 3rd of February. And we have 2 vendor permit requests, one from NEK Vapor and the other from AGS Vermont Inc. All of those were in your packet. Council members, are there any questions about anything on the consent agenda? And members in the community, are there any concerns, things you want to make sure we lift up before we take action on all of this together? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from John, a second?
Second.
And a second from Kevin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a presentation regarding Newport City BM 25902, proposed maintenance project on the Vermont 191 highway at bridge number 3. And I think we've got Jeremy. Tell me your last name again, please, Jeremy. Salvatore.
I
Thank
can
you.
spell that if you need to.
That's all right. And Jeremy, with such a big group in the room, why don't you just stay right where you are, and then
Okay.
most people can see and hear you. You are certainly able to project. And
right.
Chris Mooney is here tonight as well.
Yep. So I'm the project manager. Chris is the project engineer. So I'm with the Vermont Agency of Transportation, and yeah, we're looking at doing a bridge maintenance project to Bridge 3. And what we're looking at doing is removing the existing pavement. Then we would perform concrete repairs to the deck and the fascia. We're even going to improve the sidewalks there, and the concrete headers on either side of the existing joints there. And then once we're done all that concrete repair, then we'll install a waterproofing membrane and then repave the bridge. So our thoughts, the easiest, safest way, and probably the fastest way of doing this work would be to close the bridge and detour the traffic. So I'm here tonight to kind of get consensus from you folks that it's okay to detour the traffic, and also find out like if there's certain town events we should try to stay away from, and kind of give you a timeline. This project was supposed to go out to bid last Friday, but I've kind of held off until tonight, to make sure we don't have to do any, changes before it gets sent out to bid.
So for those who didn't have the benefit of seeing the information in the packet, Jeremy, can you just describe which bridge we're talking about and what you imagine?
So yes, so Bridge 3 is the one at the bottom of the hill here. It's about 0.2 of a mile up from the intersection of Route 5. So it's that very first bridge before the intersection, the fire station's right there, right? Mm-hmm. So it's in between Route 5 and the fire station there. One of the things that kind of makes, say, the traffic control and why we can't phase it is because there's a median down the whole way. So the only way to do that in the intersection, complicates things, and also detouring the traffic has been done there in the past, like when work's been performed.
And do we have a projection on how long, project we're talking about, how long the closure would likely last?
So it would probably be like a month. Within like a month, we could get all the work done. And because a project of this nature, unfortunately, we don't know the exact condition of the bridge, and not to like sound like alarming or whatever. But until we get that pavement off the bridge, right, then we sound the deck and we figure out what areas we need to fix. And sometimes we do very little repair. So actually, it would take us less time to repair the bridge. But sometimes it goes the other way too. But a bridge of this vintage, let's say, it's not going to be. We're not going to be there like all summer.
Council members, you have questions?
When was the last maintenance done on this bridge? Do
Oh
you know?
gosh.
So that's kind of the unknown.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if I could answer that tonight.
I believe it was the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
so let's do. All right. And is this? It sounded like it seems fairly. I don't know, like around the surface, like you're not digging down into any of those
No.
holes, really. You're not needing to re-support it or ground it or
Like
anything.
probably a way I would kind of describe this is like we're doing dental work.
Yeah. That's-
Pretty much filling fillings and that sort of stuff, just to extend the life of the bridge.
Great.
Are you doing the whole bridge? Because I know up on closer to the interstate, a few years ago, they did that and they did it half. They did it, it seemed like they did it half of the time.
Yeah.
Each section, I mean,
Well, that's why we would want to close it, because then we could do the whole thing all at once, right? And it's a little easier to detour the traffic there. We would have a signed detour. We would have message boards. The contractor would have to put the message boards out 2 weeks ahead of time. They would have to notify, I don't know if there's a newspaper up here, but make it aware to the public that there would be a detour in place.
And for those who didn't see the packet, the detour would be up the hill and taking East Main around.
And then back down by the subway there.
Yep.
But people on the Glen Road would still be able to get through.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I have direct questions through the council, please. What was the question?
I'm sorry.
That's just so that we can keep some order and people can all hear.
So people that live on the Glen Road or work at the prison on the Glen Road could still be able to get through?
Yeah, it sounds like this won't impact Glen Road at all,
At all.
right? 'Cause-
No, yeah, it's just that section of roadway, like we would pretty much detour traffic right at the intersection. And then obviously there's an entrance to the bank there that we would have to keep a little bit of 191 open for that.
Okay. Any other questions, council members? I don't think we need action on this, right? We can just say thanks for the information and
Yeah,
Godspeed.
yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I am gonna try to get it done before, like in the window of when school ends and school gets back into session.
So it'd be right in the middle of the summer. is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for making the trip tonight.
All right, so there's no other like town
You
functions?
have our blessing.
All right, well, thank you very much.
I
That
don't
was,
think it's the 4th of July fireworks usually have happen on that Thursday or probably.
No, that's not the bridge.
That's not the right day.
No,
That's not it.
we're talking about the bridge between Passumpsic Bank and the fire station.
so we
Yeah.
have,
Yeah, I thought that's where they were going.
we have done it on both bridges.
Okay,
So we would just have to move it back to, that would take a little planning.
Can you do it after the 4th of July?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I realized we were using that.
Because I just realized that there, if you do that, then we close down that one bridge even for the night or for a few hours.
okay.
There's minimal access
We
to.
can,
Nice to have you,
That's
Carter.
the
Thank
one
you.
thing, but at the same time, if you get a quality contractor in bid and that's their schedule and it works, then like that, we understand
We'll
that
figure
too.
it out,
So
right.
just like, yeah, we are understanding and
all right,
appreciative,
I'll see what I
yeah.
can do.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, if you could keep us notified either through Tom Bernier or through Carrie, who's right beside you there. Okay.
Will do.
All right, thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome to stay for a scintillating meeting. but not expected.
I gotta head back.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, council members, the next item on the agenda is, I'm just gonna pull it up and read the memo that you had in your packet so that everyone knows what we're talking about here. This is a memo that was prepared for us by Frank Cheney. It's regarding an action that we need to take every year. And since Frank couldn't be here tonight, I asked him to just prepare the memo to describe it. So the memo reads, this is regarding the PBR certificate, no appeal or suit pending. Final April 1st, 2025, City of Newport grand list was filed with the Vermont Department of Taxes on January 15th, 2026. Consequently, Vermont regulation dictates that following this action and after the first Tuesday of February each year, all municipalities must certify that there are no unresolved property tax appeals or suits pending in Vermont Environmental Court. The city does not have any open property tax appeals or suits pending as of February 23rd, 2026. I've attached a copy of PBR Form 4155 for your review and execution. Respectfully submitted, Frank Cheney, Newport City Tax Assessor. And then we have this form. It's got Frank's name on it, and there's a spot for each of us as council members to sign it. Council members, do you have any questions about this? Somebody want to, let's just do it formally. Somebody want to make a motion that we approve signing the certificate, no appeal or suit pending, form PBR 4155?
I'll make-
Got John a motion? And Kevin a second. Sorry, you got beat out, Kurt.
Yeah, that's
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. So, Jim, I'm going to sign it and pass it down, and if you would fill in the appropriate dates and times on it for us, okay?
This is the what?
Oh, thank you. Oh, yes, thank you. Nice catch. Thank you, council members. So the next item on our agenda is an executive session, which I'll explain in just a moment. I'll just say to everybody, I do not expect this to be a long conversation tonight. I'd be surprised if it went longer than 15 minutes. So I expect that this is primarily an update for the council's benefit. For anybody who hasn't been a regular attender of city council meetings, there are some matters that we invoke the privilege of going into executive session because they're sensitive for some reason. Everyone leaves the room except the people who are directly invited into the meeting, and then we'll just open the door and announce when we're done and y'all can come back in. Okay? So, may I have a motion to enter into executive session as per 1 VSA section 313A2 for the purpose of discussing sensitive matters pertaining to property control and/or acquisition in downtown Newport, and to invite into that session with us Brian Gray, the Economic Development Coordinator from Newport Downtown Development, and Dave LaForce, the Chair of the Economic Development Task Force for Newport Downtown Development.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from community residents? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in executive session. Council members, may I have a motion to come out of executive session during which no action was taken?
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Andrew, a second from John. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 7, thank you everybody in the community for your patience. Item number 7 is a request for a coin drop. I think we've approved 7.
6 of the.
Six of the 7. This is a 7th request. Mike Brown has signed off on it. So we're just asking for approval for American Legion Auxiliary Post 21 to do a coin drop on November 7, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Dress warm.
Yes, right.
I'll make that motion.
Carter's made the motion. Andrew second. Any questions or comments from the community? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, task force reports. John, I suspect a lot of people in this room have things to say tonight. Do you want to make any introductory comments and then we'll allow folks to speak?
Well, I guess we should start just by addressing some of the general points that have come up. There was a letter in the paper that had some information that really needs to be corrected. The water budget, the sewer budget, and the city's general budget are 3 separate funds, always have been. And all 3 funds have always been accounted for in the annual city reports every year. They've been published and available to people. Both the city's budget data, budget actual for the prior year, budget for the upcoming year, etc. And the audit reports likewise have been printed in the city reports every year, breaking them all down. And so that information's been out there. So if there's any inference or feeling in the community that that information has not been out there, that's simply not correct. It has been out there. The water fund and the sewer fund are supposed to be run on essentially a break-even basis. In other words, water income needs to cover water expense, sewer income needs to cover sewer expense. In the last 8 or 9 years, that hasn't been the case for a few reasons. One reason is that rates were not increased from 2015 or 16 to 2023. Rates were flat. Expenses went up, rates were flat. The second reason is that in I've forgotten the year, I'm sure other folks here know the exact year, but roughly 2019 or 2020, the city lost a major income source in terms of the money that Casella paid the city to treat leachate. Without regard to one's feelings about the merit of treating leachate, the point that's relevant to this discussion is that the city lost, depending on the year, anywhere from 150, 160, 180,000 one year. The actual figure that was printed in the 2018 annual report, which is the one I had quick access to the other day, indicated that actual revenue during the prior year was over 210,000. So the financial issue, pure and simple, is when a fund loses that income and doesn't adjust for it in any other way, it's going to go into deficit. So bottom line, between increased expenses in general, loss of income, a year ago the city found itself in the position of having deficits in both of those funds. Last summer, we had the vote to float the 10-year bond. We asked for authorization for up to $1 million. The final figure,
$875.
we borrowed $875. We didn't need the full $1 million to pay back the shortfalls. I should say the shortfalls in the water and sewer funds were being covered essentially by transfers from the general fund, so that the bills got paid. And that worked for a while, but last year the city found itself running to the end of its ability to do that in terms of cash flow. So the purpose of the $875,000 bond was for the water fund to pay back
Sewer fund.
sewer fund, excuse me, to pay back the general fund. So those, the payments on that bond, and that's a 10-year bond, the payments on that bond were calculated and factored into the rate adjustment that was made last October, which took effect with the billing cycle for the period beginning November 1, 2025. And that's the round of water bills that most recently went out that people have seen. On the water side, 5 years ago, the voters approved the water tower project. And between COVID-related delays, other delays relating to construction, that project's only been finished within the last few months, actually. The bond for that is coming in at 2.603 million, which is almost $300,000 less than authorized. And the projected payment on that bond was also figured into the rates for the period beginning last November 1. So those payments are figured into the rates. They're not being paid in addition to the rates. They are not being paid from general taxes. They're figured into the water and sewer rates, and they're already built in to the rates in the bills that we all just saw. So it's not a situation where they're being charged more than once. They're being charged once. They're in those rates, and will be until the bonds are paid off. The water tower bond is a 25-year bond. The sewer shortfall bond is a 10-year bond. So those are figured in. And the other issue is that going forward, the goal in terms of rate setting is to run on the break-even basis going forward, so that we don't fall back into the same problem again and 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 years down the road have to float another round of bonds to play catch up. The goal is to get back onto a break-even cycle. One of the people who has been involved with the Water and Sewer Committee, Patrick Hurley, has looked into the rates in many of the other towns in Vermont. And when we started this exercise, Newport's rates, old rates, were among the lowest in the state of Vermont. We were paying far less for the water and sewer services than most places. Even now, with the current rates, we are some considerable distance from the top. So, as shocking as the current adjustments may seem in terms of percentage over what people were paying over the last 6 or 7 years, compared to what other communities pay, it could be worse. Fortunately, it's not. But the goal going forward, very simply, is to not get into the same predicament. And part of that is that, very simply, is that the council needs to seriously look at those budgets every year and look at the income side of those budgets. The expense side of both of those budgets is, fairly fixed in the sense that the cost of maintaining the infrastructure, the cost of utilities for the sewer plant, the cost of utilities for the water plant, a lot of the operational costs are essentially fixed, whether you're pumping 500,000 gallons or 800,000 gallons of water a day. They don't change. There's a smaller subset of costs that are variable depending on volume in each instance, but the biggest part of the cost in both instances is fixed. And both of those plants have capacity capable of handling growth in the city. So that's to to my way of thinking, that's the real answer in the future, is we need growth within the areas that are served by those services. And, you know, part of getting that growth involves dealing with issues like the vacant lot across the street, redeveloping other properties to get more users onto the existing infrastructure, because that will allow the fixed costs to be spread among a larger user base. And so, the other question that's come up is a terminology question, and the term that seems to concern some people is that if you have a metered water service, the base fee is now called a connection fee on the bills. It used to be called a base fee, or it was changed 3 or 4 billing cycles ago, according to Stacy downstairs. It used to be called something else.
Excuse me, could you speak up just a
Yeah, but whatever it was called before confused people as well. And in looking around at what other places charge, or what other places call it, I mean, excuse me, it's referred to in different places in different ways. In some places it's referred to as a base rate, in other places it's referred to as a service rate, in other places it's referred to as an access fee, in other places it's called a connection fee. There's no one term for it, but the ultimate point is that whatever you call it, it's intended to cover the base for the ability to be hooked up and to receive the service on an ongoing basis. The initial connection, when a new property is literally connected to the pipe, the hookup fee is separate, and that's a one-time fee. And in some places that's called a hookup fee, in other places it's called a tap fee, in other places it's called a connection fee. Again, there's no consistent, standardized statewide terminology for it. But everybody distinguishes in some fashion, using some word, the initial physical connection to the pipe, the one-time connection to get you onto the service, and then the ongoing base for the service to be provided on an ongoing basis. There's no standard term for it. But in Newport, on the current bills, the base or access is called a connection fee on the current bills. You know, I mean, if I were designing the bills, I would change it to read base fee, but that's where that charge comes from. And the same term is used, I think, on the sewer side, although I don't remember. I don't get a sewer bill because I have my own septic system, so I'm not sure in the part of town that's water only. But on the water side, it says connection fee if excuse me, if you're metered. So I just wanted to touch on those few points, and unfortunately, the last thing I should mention is that, you know, questions have come up about how you design a rate structure, and unfortunately, until everybody in town is metered, it's necessary to have 2 structures, one for fixed rate accounts and one for metered accounts. If we achieve the goal of having every service metered, then it's going to be a lot clearer in terms of designing one fee structure that applies across the board. And the metering project is progressing. If I remember correctly, last week, Tom Bernier told us at our meeting that we're down under 400 to go.
We've installed 300 meters since the beginning of August when we started.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's coming. And Tom's staff is doing that in-house, which brings the cost down compared to contracting with an outside firm to do it. He has a couple of crews that are trained to do it, so the cost is coming down. And ultimately, yeah, in terms of designing a rate structure, everybody needs to be metered. The other reason that everybody needs to be metered is that until everybody's metered, it's difficult to determine whether and to what extent we have abnormal water losses in the system, in the sense that we know precisely, virtually to the gallon, how much water is being produced at the wellhead and processed through the plant. But because not everybody's metered, we don't actually know how much water is making it to the end users and how much is getting lost in the system because of leaks in old pipes, that kind of thing. One of the members of the Water Sewer Task Force has decades of experience working for the Champlain Water District, and he has a lot of data in terms of what normal losses in the system are. But until everybody's metered, there's no way to know whether our system is within those normal parameters or whether we're losing more. And so that's an issue that we need to look at heading down as we progress with this, because there are some pipes in some parts of the system in the city that are literally probably 100 years old. And so over time, obviously, things deteriorate.
Should we leave it there for a moment?
So,
Okay,
sure.
so we've got an overview, and as opposed to trying to do a back and forth conversation, I think what I'd like to propose is that if folks would like to speak, we'll ask you to stand. If you can project, you may stand right where you are and just say your name, so we know that and whether you're a Newport resident or you own Newport property, and then just you are welcome to share. We would like to keep the comments to 2 to 3 minutes. If you go over 3, we'll politely say, could you begin to wind it up? We won't kind of abruptly cut anybody off. And so council members, I'd encourage you as folks are speaking to just keep some notes. If you want to come back to anything you hear, to ask more questions or to comment, you're welcome to after we're done. Make sense? Tracy, you want to start us off?
Sure.
And then I'll ask for hands. I know Tracy's signed up to speak tonight. So. I'll just pass them down for you. Yeah, thank you.
Tracy Ashman, Newport City. I'm going to be a little redundant of what John just said, just to make sure everybody kind of understands, because I know there's a lot of confusion with terminology, like John said. Words matter. They matter just as much as intention. When the terms we use don't match what we mean, the result is confusion, uncertainty, misunderstanding, and ultimately mistrust. When most people use the term connection fees, they are referring to one-time charges, sometimes called tap fees, hook fees, or system development charges, the municipality requires when a property is first connected to the public water or sewer system. These fees are not monthly usage charges. They cover the cost of physically linking a property to municipal infrastructure and ensuring the system has enough capacity to serve new users. With that definition in mind, I ask you to consider whether the term currently used on everyone's utility bill matches this meaning and your intent. If it doesn't, the terminology should be corrected so the words used accurately reflect the purpose of the fee. This need for clarity becomes even more important when we look at how the city has described these charges. The white paper enclosed with recent bills referred to them as a flat rate, while an email response from Jennifer Hopkins called them a base rate. These terms do not mean the same thing. Which term is correct? Which term reflects your intent? Which term can the public rely on for clarity and consistency? Because terminology only has meaning when it accurately reflects the underlying cost, please clarify whether the charges labeled as connection fees represent a variable cost, a fixed, predictable expense. In either case, the terminology used to describe these charges must be consistent across all documents, communications, and billing materials so residents receive clear, accurate information about why they are paying for it and why. This consistency is especially important given that water and sewer budgets are not approved by voters and are not funded through property taxes. Even within this structure, the public still deserves transparent terminology and accurate classification so residents can understand the nature and purpose of these charges. This brings me to a broader point. Just as illustrated in the 2018 film On the Basis of Sex, which chronicles Ruth Bader Ginsburg's early legal work, laws are not meant to remain frozen in time. They are expected to evolve with the climate of the era when they no longer serve the public effectively. The current statute that prohibits residents from voting on water and sewer budgets may have made sense when it was enacted, but today it places an unnecessary burden on the City Council by requiring you to operate the water and sewer budgets like city-owned businesses, even though these services are essential to public utilities. More than 200 municipalities across Vermont are bound by this same statute. I encourage the City Council to consider reaching out to other communities to determine whether there is shared interest in revisiting or updating the law. A coordinated effort could help modernize the statute and strengthen public confidence in how these essential services are governed. For all of these reasons, I'm asking you, the City Council, to clearly state your intent, answer these questions publicly, consider whether the current law that prohibits residents from voting on water and sewer budgets should be re-examined to better reflect the needs and expectations of our community today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Someone else like to speak? It doesn't have to be a well-drafted comment like Tracy just did. Anyone is welcome to speak off the cuff. I'll just turn to folks online. Is there anyone online who'd like, oh, hold on just a second. Let me just check online first. Anyone online like to speak? Okay. Ann, you would,
Yes,
I'm sorry, who was,
that's fine.
Bernadette?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bernadette, please.
Yeah, Bernadette Dewey, a resident here in Newport. We own 2 homes. One is currently metered, one is not at this point. I want to thank you very much for explaining the connection fee portion of this. We've been told many things, and speculation is not a good thing when you're sitting back looking at a bill like this. The next explanation I would like is why are there 2 water and 2 sewer different meter usage rates for the same meter on the bill? I've got one listed at, let me see, a sewer meter usage rate listed at 0.0131 for a rate, and a second one listed at 0.0053 for a rate. Then, on the same bill, my water meter usage rates are 0.0081 and 0.0032, all with different balances on the end.
You want to, I don't know that we can do that in this context. It may be that we've got to look carefully at the actual bills, but Jennifer is online, I know, and John, if either of you have something you'd like to say to that specific question, I'll allow that.
It depends on.
Yeah, Jennifer, is that Jennifer raising her hand? Yeah, we're going to let Jennifer take this one because she's our financial bulldog when it comes to water and sewer. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Gee, thanks. Sorry, I'm stuck in Massachusetts in a snowstorm. The person who just spoke probably has a bill that's over 13,500 gallons
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
quarter.
Yes, that's correct. Keep going, Jennifer.
2 rates because it varies. I apologize, I had some interference on the line. So that's the reason. There are 2 different rates. The base rate, which is supposed to take up to 13,500 gallons, is at 1 charge. After that, we end up with, you have the base charge, and then you have every gallon afterwards at a higher rate. Effectively, it should make it that everybody pays approximately the same rate per gallon for the water usage.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Thank you very much. But if my residential water coming in through the meter is the exact same usage as what's going out my sewer, isn't that a little out? That's not accurate, is it?
There's no meter on the sewer side.
Correct, so I have those two same amounts for the incoming water and the outgoing sewer. 13.5 for the incoming water at one rate, 42.91 for incoming water at another rate. Then my sewer output is 13.5 and 42.91. Exact same numbers, and my sewer shouldn't be putting out as much water as we use. We cook,
I see what you're saying.
we do, and it doesn't all go out through the sewer. So why are my sewer numbers exact what's coming in as my water usage?
And I think that's simply because the sewer rates are built using the water rates or the water gallonage as the premise, because it's impossible to meter the outgoing, because that would vary so much from property to property depending on what people do at their property. You know, some people water their garden every week. You know, other people have other uses of the water that might divert it from the sewer system. So the sewer rates are built based upon the arbitrary assumption that output equals input. And because there really isn't any other way to do it short of figuring out how, because metering the sewer would be much more complicated. You know, you'd end up having to buy multi-$1,000. Just knowing how pump stations work, you'd have to end up buying essentially the equivalent of a pump station grinder for every single hookup, which would be, you know, you'd be spending $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 per hookup to be able to accurately meter output on the sewer side. It's just totally impractical.
Do you have other questions, Bernadette?
You answered some of my stuff, some of my issues earlier today, but I do have a comment for the boys on the crew, the fellas that work on the crews.
Yeah.
They did an outstanding job today. I believe they went above and beyond, and I want to thank personally the city, all your city workers for the good job
That's
that they
really
did.
kind, thank you. And they were out there all day long, I
All day
understand,
long
right?
in this cold weather.
Out on the end of Glen Road is where you were?
On the Glen Road, on one of
Yeah.
the streets off the Glen Road.
Thank you. And I'll just say to everyone, Bernadette, especially you, but to all of you, these meetings of the Water and Sewer Task Force are open to the public. We do our best to try and keep it up to date on the website. And John, when's the next one? Do you have it off the top of your head?
It's a week from Thursday.
March the 5th.
March 5th, thank you. So the next one will be March 5th, Thursday night, here in this room at 6:30.
6:30.
And anyone is welcome. And folks in the community have been participating quite significantly in those meetings. So if you have both questions and thoughts and ideas, you are welcome to attend.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions or comments that folks would like to make? Ann, go ahead.
John said something interesting. He said that expenses of water and sewer pretty much remain fixed. But over the years, that hasn't really been true. Over the years, we've seen a couple of trends. One trend certainly was the shift of the salaries of people who were in the general, what we always thought were just in the general administration, like the city manager and her assistant in her department, and then in the Treasury Clerk's office. For all the years that we have been in existence until about, I would say, 7 years ago, there was no charge at Water and Sewer for the work of producing the water and sewer bills. And then maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, Jim charged, who's our clerk treasurer, wound up charging Water and Sewer 10% of the salaries. And then Laura Dolgan, and I found a memo from her actually from 2023 in the annual budget memo that she sent, and she said in one paragraph, in order to more accurately reflect the ratio of time spent in the city clerk and treasurer's office generating water and sewer bills and managing customer service as a result of those bills, this budget shifted 25% of the salaries to be absorbed in the enterprise funds, that's the water and sewer funds, to correspond with the 25% of their time generating and managing these utility bills. So one of the major shifters of money from being spent by the general fund, shifting it over to water and sewer paying for it, was Laura Dolgan. And she thought in 2023 to 24 that 25% of a salary shift to water and sewer would cover it. Now, I personally, and a few other people, have been personally disputing some of these numbers for years because there's been no timesheets kept. And finally, I think, one year, when we had Mayor Sullivan, she finally asked them to at least keep timesheets for, I think, 2 weeks or so. And the number did come out to basically close to maybe 22 or 23% of this 25%. But this year, we've had another increase. So just in 2023-24, it was 25%. And this year, we've had an increase to 40% of the salary will be shifted, especially if the charter if the new charter comes through. So I'm almost wishing that we had a separate water and sewer group of commissioners other than the council, only because the council's worried about the general fund. And sure, if we can shift some of this away from the general fund, we can lower the general fund budget. And the voters have to vote on that budget, but we don't get to vote on water and sewer budgets, so that can increment up, and we never get a chance to vote on it. And what's more, those rates can be raised anytime during the year. So I am concerned that expenses are going up in the water and sewer budgets, and nobody is saying from water and sewer commissioners, let's say, hey, we need somebody to watch this. We need some timesheets on this. And the second...
Okay, I'm going to ask you to, if you've got another point, I'm asking you to make
one
it
other
quickly.
point.
Thank you.
The other point that was raised recently is the issue of depreciation being added to the water and sewer budgets. Increases it this year by maybe 100,000, but we were told that in the next year it'll probably increase it by another 400,000, which we we water and sewer rate payers will be paying for. And we've never had depreciation in any of those water and sewer budgets other than by mistake once by Laura Duggan, and she took it out immediately. And now, based upon our systems expert, who's supposed to handle the technological systems stuff, we are being told that depreciation can fit into those budgets of water and sewer, even though they are cash flow budgets, and depreciation is not a cash item at all. And I would like someone to speak to an accountant experienced in enterprise funds to determine whether or not that is appropriate in a cash flow budget. I'm not saying I know. I don't have that experience, but I do say when you've got an issue like that, you've never had it in a budget before, you need to speak to an expert about whether or not it belongs. Otherwise, that's another expense. And really, what
So
people...
Ann, I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please.
What people are concerned about is that their bills are going up, and they want to know, are there ways of stopping the water and sewer bills from going up? And these two things that I've just talked about are not going to stop them from going up. They're going to increase their chances of going up. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Go ahead, Laurie.
So I just want to speak briefly.
Say your name, please.
Laurie Graham, resident of Newport. I just want to speak briefly to something that Tracy had mentioned, that about the water and sewer fund being run like a business. And the reason that is because typically across the country, and especially in Vermont, water and sewer systems are considered enterprise funds of the community in which they operate. And the only way really to avoid that is something I recall from one of the early meetings, I believe, that Paul Tice said, we could bring someone in and privatize our whole system, and then we wouldn't have any say over the system. At least at this point, because it's being operated as an enterprise fund of the city does have say. So that seemed to be kind of the only choice we had was, or not just we, but in any water system, is to actually privatize it and bring somebody in from the outside to run the whole system itself. And an enterprise fund is based on rates paid for by the users of that system.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room, and then I'll ask online. Go ahead.
Dan Bowden. I have apartments in Newport. I run the Newport State Airport. Does it sound like to me that the people who are metered are paying more because the people who are not metered? Am I understanding that correctly a little bit? It seems like we're picking up the balance of what these people are. They could be filling a 25,000 gallon pool, and the people who are metered are picking up that fee for that.
Well, there is actually a separate pool filling fee.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, but what if somebody's got a pool in their backyard?
The basic premise is that when the meters were first really coming in 10 or 12 years ago, there was it was voluntary, and there was an assumption built into the structure that the average household used 13,500 gallons of water per quarter. And so the metered rates were designed in such a way that if you actually are metered and use 13,500 gallons per quarter, your bill is literally within a few cents of what the flat rate for a single-family residence is. In other words, that's the break point. If you use less than 13,500 gallons per quarter and you're metered, your bill will be lower than the flat rate.
That's still all based on assumptions.
Well, if you're metered and you use 13,000 less than 13,000.
Exactly. But if you're not metered.
Well, if you're not metered. And if you're not metered, the fixed rate is based on that assumption, and whether you use less or more doesn't matter. You're billed the same amount. You're billed based on the flat rate because there's no way to measure it otherwise. So for people whose usage is under the 13.5, they have a clear incentive to be metered. For people whose usage is over the 13.5, they don't have the same incentive to be metered, and that's obviously an issue in the system. The number crunchers on the committee know the fine points of this, but it's possible it has been possible to get a better estimate of what metered residential users are actually using, because you can break it down meter by meter by meter. And the actual usage, and Jennifer will tell me if I'm wrong, is somewhere more like 9,000, 9,500 gallons.
Over 3 months.
Over 3 months. So for many single-family residential people, there's an absolute advantage to being metered because their usage is less.
That's what I was told when they told me, put the meters in now, it won't cost you anything, and
Yeah.
it'll be to your benefit, but it certainly doesn't look that way anymore.
Well, one of the issues with, you know, I mean, I've had other folks with rental properties that talk to me, and the big issue they have is whether their tenants are respectful of water use, and because they're not paying for it directly, they tend not to be, and that's an issue.
Oh, no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So in the past 9 months, what do you think the average percentage increase was in 9 months? Because that's when I saw a huge swing.
Right, well, I mean, the rates have definitely gone up a couple of times in the last year. And in order to get to the true, in order to fund the true cost of operating the system, because the system was collecting, on the income side, the rates were way too low to cover the costs. And so there were a couple of interim adjustments. And then the last adjustment that was made last fall, which is reflected now in the bills because it's in arrears, was intended to be based on the best information we had at the time regarding expenses, and to include the bond payments. We were trying to pick it all up with the idea that at the end of the year we'd basically be even, and then going forward try to run on an even basis.
I mean, I keep track of my properties very closely, and if there's any toilets leaking or whatever, I mean, I look at the meters, they don't move.
Yeah.
But in the past 9 months, I went from 900 a quarter to 2,100. 2,100.
Yeah.
And what I have to ask is, am I expecting another increase again? Because if that's the case, Newport is not a very welcome place to
Well,
live.
so I'll speak to that, Dan. I mean, I think the answer from all of us is, we hope not. I mean, what we've done is spent a year trying to tinker each quarter with making our best guess, because it's an imprecise science, to make sure that what we're charging is actually covering our expense. The two big things that took place this year that we just didn't have any control over were, one, we added a $2.6 million loan to pay off the cost of the water tower that was approved 5 years ago.
Mhm.
So that's coming through on your water bill, right? And it's built in. So the service on that debt is now built into your rates, and for this year and going forward for the next 25 years. And similarly, the $875,000 loan that we asked for permission from the voters to take to cover the sewer deficit from the last decade, we now have a 10-year note for $875,000 at, I think we were around 5.1 or 5.2%. So part of our challenge right now is that we're paying for a decade of not adjusting the rates when they should have been adjusted. So we're paying not only for what we've got to pay for our current usage, but for the fact that the system was run at a significant accumulated deficit over the last decade.
Yeah, because rates were simply too low.
But the short answer to your question is, we hope that we are, we've closed in on that gap. We know what the debt is now, and it's incorporated. We think we've gotten close on the actual expense so that we're not running new deficits going forward. And I certainly don't expect to see, it would shock me to see anything like the kind of, we just raised the rates almost 30%, right? It was 27%.
I'm saying 60%.
Well, I'm saying in this last round in particular. I get it. So, and I'll just say, I want to say to everyone in the room and wherever they may be listening to this, there are a lot of people who are here experiencing a lot of pain on this. The ones that I'm equally worried about are folks on fixed income. We've talked about that extensively in the water and sewer meetings. And the reality is, if you're on a fixed income and then all of a sudden this hits you, that money can be really, really dramatic for those people as well. And if we could think of a way to mitigate this and responsibly run the cost of the service without raising the rates, believe me when I tell you, we'd have done it. So what I can tell you is that we have a council that is fully on its game, with the support of a remarkable task force that's been meeting once to anywhere, it depends on the month, once to 3 times a month for a year to try and figure this thing out and get it settled. We will not finally know until we get all the meters installed how this is going to settle. So one other thing I'll just tell everybody is, if anybody's thinking about this logically, you may see, depending on your usage, you may see a benefit from putting a meter in right now. But when everybody's on the meter, the fixed cost in this system are still going to be the same. We're going to have to adjust the rates at that point to make sure that everyone is sharing the cost of the fixed rates as
So
well.
putting those 400 other meters that are not metered, can we expect a decrease because now they're all metered?
I'm saying in the short term, I suspect if you're using your water sparingly, yeah, you're likely to see a decrease. But in the long term, once everybody's on, we're going to have to create a connection or a base rate, whatever we want to call it, and divide the fixed cost into that, no matter whether you were metered or unmetered. So there's going to be another reckoning that happens at some point, though I think in the short term it benefits everyone. And at the end of the day, what we're clear about is the only fair way to manage the rates is to have everyone on a meter. It is literally impossible to do this in a fair way short of that reality. That's why we've pressed so hard.
So do you actually know which houses are not metered?
Yes, we do.
One of his isn't.
Then why aren't they metered?
Because
I bought my property 7 years ago, and Pedro come, it's your benefit to meter. I did.
Yep. My answer to that is because we went a long time without enforcement or a significant effort to get meters installed. So when this council took office in March of last year, we recognized at that point that there were 42% of our connections for residential customers that were unmetered. 42%. That meant I was somewhere in the neighborhood of 800, in the high 700s, 800 connections. So we looked at that and said, okay, where are we going to get the money? Because every one of those is going to cost us, we now know, about $500 as a city to take care of it. So we figured that out. We've got an answer to that question, which is we came in under budget on the water tower, and there was permission in the original bond authorization 5 years ago to spend money on water meters. So that's how we have enough money right now, and we're doing it on the cheap by having our own staff do it. It's costing us roughly half what it would cost if we hired it to be done. And we're doing it with our own staff as fast as we can, and we've done 300 of those meters that were just stalled for years are now in place, and we expect to finish the metering project by fall. So stay tuned, we're working it. And I appreciate the pain.
It's just, if I ran my business this way, I'd be out of business. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
That's exactly right.
It just doesn't
We
make
all
sense.
agree that it has not made sense.
Now, I don't want to be a negative Nelly. I mean, I do a lot for Newport. I've been here for years. It's just that Newport can only withstand so much between taxes, water, sewer, and everything. It's just a big pill to swallow.
We agree, and all I can do is reiterate what John said earlier, which is you have a fixed population right now of 4,400 people. And dropping, and you have a grand list that has been static basically for years, and there's no way costs to operate the city are going down, they're only going up. So unless we change that dynamic, which is to say, in my judgment, and I think in the judgment of this council, we talk about it almost every meeting, in our judgment, the only way to respond to that problem is density, because we don't have a lot of land to just spread out on. We've got to get more property on the grand list and more ratepayers involved in paying the fixed costs. And that's the only thing over time that will stabilize the situation. That's why we're working so hard on it. You're making a great case for it.
I'm going to rest on that.
All right.
Yeah, and some of the largest water users in the community are tax exempt properties. And so the only revenue the city collects from them are
yeah, we just shut him down, John. Don't wire him up again.
Paying water and sewer.
That's exactly right. They're paying water and sewer, and so that's where part of the logic comes from, frankly, of looking at departments like Jim's office and allocating the proportionate part of their office expense to the water and sewer accounts as opposed to having the property taxpayers pay it all. Because at least then the large water and sewer users are paying something towards it. And so, but the real long-term answer very simply boils down to grow the grand list, get more users on the system within the areas, because the systems, both the water system and the sewer system, have capacity to accommodate more people. And because they have capacity, growth is really ultimately the only solution, because Newport is so land limited compared to the surrounding towns. I mean, the gross land area of the city is less than 8 square miles, whereas a typical town is 36 square miles. You know, we simply don't have a lot of land to expand on, so we need to look at density, and so there are other things going on to try to deal with that issue in terms of revising zoning and in terms of the work the downtown people are doing, and so on, in the hope of growing the grand list.
Okay, I see a couple of comments. We're just going to take 2 or 3 more comments and then we're going to wrap up. Nikki?
Okay, Jace came home one night, he said that we're gonna be putting in some meters. And I says, for what? He says it's gonna help, like, people like us that water our plants a lot. I says, so is everybody gonna be doing it? Because I don't want to be the only one doing it. He goes, I don't know, we're gonna try it. So Pedro came right in the next day, put it right in. We noticed the difference was unbelievable. And we came, and I said, tell them that the council, that you guys got to be pushing this. This is, but several people on the council, not just one, never pushed it, and nobody came. And this is what's happening. Of course, now it's woken up. But this is, I don't know how many times, James, you brought that up at all the meetings. That's, put the meters in. Put the meters in.
It worked when it first put in. I mean, it did make a difference.
Yeah.
Because it went on a set fee versus a user fee.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it made a difference, but not anymore.
Well, it made the difference, and it's still making it. Because whether or not you have a meter, the cost to run the system remains whatever it is, and we have to charge enough to cover the entire cost of running the
My
system.
water use is within a couple thousand. Wintertime, let's face it, nobody goes outside other than the house.
Right.
So, I mean, I watch it, and it just doesn't, it's just not equating right now. It just.
Yeah, what it's equating to
It
is
blows
a
me away
significant
right now, is
increase
what it
in the
is.
cost to the ratepayers of running the system. You're absolutely right about that.
I mean.
Okay, I'm going to take a couple more quick comments. Lori and then Bernadette, and we'll see if anybody online wants to
I
speak.
was just gonna say one thing, don't forget that, and I am not on sewer because I'm outside of that range, but the connection fee, whatever base fee you wanna talk about, increase with this last bill about $20. So you can't just look at how much water you're using, you also have to consider the increase in the water and sewer connection fee. So like I said, ours went up $20, and I think that's across the board. So it might be however many meters you have on properties if you own more than one property.
Thank you. Bernadette?
Okay, I have 2 things. One, I agree with you that fixed rate incomes and older people, like retired but have to still go to work because water bills go up, taxes are going up, insurance goes up. We can't keep fielding all of this because we're not going to be able to pay it, number 1. Number 2, I want to thank you for explaining how the bonds have covered arrears. And I hope that you've taken into consideration the infrastructure for the future. If you haven't, it's going to continue to go up for those of us who aren't going to be able to afford it anymore.
It's a very good point. Yeah, we've actually had a lot of conversation because we're due on the wastewater treatment facility for a 20-year engineering survey to make sure that we're up to date. It's supposed to start next fall. And yeah, I mean, I think all of us are anxiety ridden about what that might mean. So we have capacity, but the question is the plant maintained to the level that it has to be?
You have that,
So,
and you have all of your water lines throughout the city. Some go to nowhere.
that's right. You're absolutely right. We have lines that we know have to be replaced. So stay tuned if you're interested. These are fascinating, scintillating meetings, and you all are welcome. So the next one is Thursday night, the 5th of March. Anybody online have anything else you want to add before we move on? Council members, any other comments that you all would like to make before we move on tonight? Okay.
I just appreciate how this is spurred involved, or like, it stinks that this is kind of getting people's attention, but please do come back when we reassess, when everybody's been when that rate structure, please come back when we're talking about upgrading our wastewater system. Like, this is helpful, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, John, thank you. And the members of that task force, not all of whom are here, we're grateful to everybody for their support. Pam, I'm going to hand this to you. Joshua House Warming Shelter, this is Rick. Kathy, I'm going to hand this over to someone else, okay? Northeast Kingdom Services. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Carter, I think we're up to you, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So last Wednesday, we had our meeting, our next meeting for this financial reporting and fiscal practices. I like this coverage, appreciate it, Lori. Our next meeting is next, not as in a couple days from now Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. What we reviewed in the last one is we need to look at our trustee policy around some funds. Just identified that we haven't at all gotten to the point where we want to present something, but it just has come to light that it's time to look at that because we have some active ones, we have some ones that the council has closed, but in general, who is appointed to oversee those funds, we want to look at that. So, and then also we're looking at a contract with CDFA, and sorry y'all, the acronym is not in my brain right now, but CDFA is just incredibly knowledgeable about nationwide leverages of financial abilities and not powers of a municipality, but there are unique things that a municipality can do to help stabilize our tax rate, and so having a conversation with them. And yeah, I know, sorry to follow up that other task force, but that's kind of the gist.
I'll just add, what CDFA is really the potential that the task force is considering. We are not yet at a point of making a recommendation to council. But what they do is long-term strategic planning around finances in particular, so that if we know what our capital needs are going to be, they help us know where the potential money is out there and how to access it.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the possibility of signing a contract with them. But like I said, I don't think the task force is ready to take action yet.
Am I missing anything?
Okay.
No.
Any comments or questions? There's somebody online who wanted to speak? Or
No, somebody just joined.
Okay. Anybody have comments or questions about the finance task force?
I will say something if that's okay, really quickly. I just, there's a lot of talk in the community about whether or not we've looked at budgets and spending and that kind of stuff. And we have spent, as a member of the task force, we have spent time going through the budgets and asking very pointed questions about pieces of the budget. And one of these guys know this, but one of my biggest things is one of the votes that's going to come up on March 3rd, which has to do with changing how often we take in tax payments, going from 2 times a year to 4 times a year. And the fact is that in doing that, it keeps the city from having to borrow money to pay the city bills from the beginning of the fiscal year until November when the taxes come in. And then again, from that point to the end of the fiscal year when the next group of tax payments come in. And so that's what I've been, you want us to save money, let's save some interest payments. And that is one of the things that has come out of the task force. And we met on Friday afternoons for a long, long time, and we've been meeting on Wednesday mornings about every other week for a very good conversation. And so I would invite anybody to join us. It's online.
I would like to know if people would still have the option to do every 6 months paid and rather than every quarter, or would it just be final?
No. So if it passes as warned in the ballot, it would mean that you would get one bill at the beginning of the year and 4 dates on which it needs to be paid throughout the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to the housing and security, public encampments, and community safety. It's interesting that we just took that phone call. I'll just let folks know that we opened Joshua House Shelter, the warming shelter, with an almost entirely volunteer effort 3 weeks ago. The board met on Saturday, and there were a number of things, the biggest of which was just how hard it has been to staff this with volunteers. And we made a decision to close for a week because we just didn't have enough people to keep it open. And we're working this week. There's a group of people who met here last night for 2 hours, and we are working together this week to do our best to try and figure out how we could get open again by Sunday. But if you have any interest, or you know anyone who might have interest in helping us to volunteer, it's working. In a lot of ways, it's working. Over the last 10 days, we were averaging 8 to 11 people a night who were given shelter up there. So really, truly, come talk with us. Talk with Pam or myself or others who have been involved, and we will get you into the loop. You have to pass a pretty basic background check because we need to be careful about criminal history. But other than that, and honestly, if you're someone who hasn't had recent criminal activity, don't be afraid to come talk to us. We'll have a conversation about that. A lot of people in this community have wanted to help, and we're doing our best to plug them in. So stay tuned about that. And fire department strategic planning. Andrew, what you got for us?
So we had a meeting last Thursday, and we discussed a bunch of ongoing conversation. We are going to put a presentation together at our next meeting, which will be held April 9th at Built by Newport at 6 p.m. We will have a link to that as well. But what I'd like to say is we've done a lot of work, a lot of data gathering, and they're going to come forth with a presentation with what is only just a start of what we're going to be looking at, because there's so much to look at with a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. There's a lot of different things to look at. So we're going to take it phase by phase, and this is just, we're looking at the data entry, collections, time management piece first. So we're going to come back. They're going to come back with a presentation to council on next steps and early findings.
Probably in April.
It'll be either May or June, because our next meeting is going to be in April, on April 9th. And we're going to have a presentation. We're going to review the presentation, and then we'll look at dates, whether we have to gather more data, change that presentation up a little bit, or if we want to come back in May and say, hey, can we, we want to do this presentation, one of the meetings in May, or would it be feasible to do it in June? But we will come to you with that presentation.
Thanks, Andrew. Any questions in the community? That group's been meeting, monthly almost, right? Since last summer?
It's every other month. It's monthly to every other month, depending on what, because we have a lot of members that are out of town or that are very busy. So we try to do it, and they try to join remotely, and it's. But yeah, we meet monthly usually, on average monthly.
Thank you. Okay, council members, I think we're moving on then to public comment. Yes, or did I miss something, Kurt?
Oh, you're right, sorry.
Okay, so if we have not covered the topic that you want to speak to already tonight, folks in the community are welcome to speak. We're going to ask you to speak in 3 minutes or less. So I'll ask Andrew if you want to.
Tracy.
Tracy was signed up, but I think has left because she got to speak earlier.
Pam.
That's fine, I'm done.
Okay. Ann.
I can never resist an opportunity to talk about the charter. I had a new way of putting it together recently about why I get so troubled by it. And why I get so troubled by it is it's really about power being shifted away from the citizens and then away from the council to the city manager, and then away from local control to the state. And the last one is when the original charter, the one we're functioning under now, was written, there was no state statute out there that covered the municipalities and what would happen if the municipality didn't control its own country, its own community. And so the charter encompassed basically all the rules that we needed at the time. And so now when the charter says, the proposed charter says, well, we'll follow state law on that, and we'll follow state law on that. Or even if the charter doesn't mention anything, well, then there's a vacuum. And where do you look for what the rule is going to be? State statute. And when you think about how those state statutes on municipalities were created, they weren't created with Newport specifically in mind. They were just created with respect to a general community. And in fact, the people that were probably most interested in those could very well be the bigger cities. And so maybe they weren't as concerned with the little cities at all. And so to give up your power by saying, oh, well, we'll just refer to state statute is foolish in my mind. And in addition, when you say that to the community has no idea what's in the state statute. So if you ask us to approve the proposed charter with at least 11 or 12, or I think I counted 20 references to state statute, you're asking us to approve something that we have no idea of what the state statute says. And if you think that most people will generally have time to go out and look at what is in those state statutes before they sign off on a yes, that they're not going to get to do that. And you're asking them to approve something they don't understand. And I think that's been really unfair, and that's the shift from local to state.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next, Andrew?
Lori?
Just very quickly, this has come to my attention by a few people, and that has to do with the public comment period at the end of council meetings. We've been doing this now since 2023, and when it was changed. And sometimes the meetings go really long and there might be someone here that wants to speak. And just for consideration, possibly allowing public comment at the beginning for items that are not specifically on the agenda for the night.
Thank you.
Bernadette?
I've had my opportunity, thank you.
And David?
I think they left.
You left.
Okay. Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody online? Oh, I think they had a chance to get in, so I think we're good. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 10, new business. Carter?
Met with the Beebysboro Rail Trail Council. I'm not going to give you the acronym, but that's the whole name. So the Beebysboro Rail Trail Council is a group where invested stakeholders around a rail trail that starts in Newport or ends in Derby, or vice versa, however you approach it. And since it is a converted rail trail, the state has one person, Jackie Casino, who really oversees them, and they're developing a management plan. All the other management plans have been developed because we're the littlest, we're like only 6-7 miles versus there's other hundreds of miles across the state. They're like, okay, let's get to this management plan. So they are working with VHB and they drafted strategies and goals, and it was a really productive conversation. I would say I would like to see Derby Select Board members or members of their staff participate in those conversations. But Doug Morton, who is a transportation, because this is under the transportation umbrella, so Doug Morton works at NVDA as their senior transportation planner, so he's coordinating and he's going to go and meet with Derby to try to stimulate some engagement on their end. Other stakeholders involved, Men for Magog Trails Association, but Bob, and then there's some members from the local snowmobile club were there. Mike Brown was there, so Parks and Recreation Director. So it was a really good conversation of, okay, what we'd like to see and what are issues that we would like to address in the management plan. So it was a good start, and there's more to come. But that's basically
Thank you, Carter. Andrew?
No, thank you.
Just back up for a second. Carter and Andrew, is there anything the two of you want to say about where we are with the search committee, the city manager search committee?
Thank you. Yes, that was last week, so therefore it was on Wednesday. It was a really great start. We just had conversations. So there's, just to recap, Dominic Cloud, from St. Albans, city manager of St. Albans, but really he is contracted through VLCT to do the headhunting service for us. So posting our city manager position, but we are really kind of taking a moment to gather what we would like to see, like what are the qualities in the candidate, because then you write the posting to try to attract those qualities. So there are 2 members of staff, so Thomas Bernier, who is Public Works Director, and also Travis Bingham, who is
Chief.
Chief. And then 2 members of the public were also present, so there's community input, and then 2 members of the council. Andrew had a fire call. You back to back, I heard?
Yes, I was not able to attend because I had back-to-back fire calls. It was, I was at one and the meeting started and we had a second one, so we were fairly busy, so.
Yeah. But that's, so it was really, I don't know, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it, but that's.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for reminding me.
John?
No.
Mr. President?
No, thank you.
Mr. Clerk? Okay. I'll just back up for a moment and say, Kevin, are you expecting you'll be able to be with us on the 2nd in a week, Monday night for the meeting?
Yes.
All right, then I'll just say to everyone that that will be Kevin's last meeting after 6 years of service, Kevin? 8 years of service. So I expect to take a moment at the next meeting for anyone who would like to appreciate Kevin's service. And anybody who wants to just be thinking on that in advance is welcome to do so. Okay. I don't think there's anything else for new business from me. So old business, Carter?
No.
Andrew?
No, thank you.
John?
No.
Kevin? Jim?
Yeah, just a reminder of the Board of Civil Authority meeting tomorrow at 4:45.
Yes, I need to talk with you because we're going to have to try and divide up space in the building somehow. So
You meet in my office.
Okay,
We're
that'd
gonna
be
take 2 minutes.
that's perfect because I have a meeting in here at 5 with people working on the shelter. Yeah, we're so alive. So
It's
okay,
just
so
one of those things that literally 2 minutes.
all we're doing at that meeting is approving the election officials, right?
This will be 1 minute.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll make the motion, it'll be 1 minute.
All right. Anything else, Jim, that you've got?
No, that's it.
Okay. Then moving on to item 12. So our next meeting will be a regular meeting Monday night next week, the 2nd. It will include a separately warned but included in the meeting public information center for session for anyone who has questions or comments that they want to share about the budget or the charter or anything else that's on the agenda the following day on the ballot. So that's all of our meeting next week. And though I'm not warning it tonight, I'll just advise everyone that I think we're aiming for a special meeting on March 9th of the newly seated council members and all of us. And the 2 primary things on our mind for that will be to ask Chip Stearns to be with us because we haven't had a financial update since late January now. So we didn't want to let that go much further without doing our monthly check-in. And more importantly, we have we're working on the final paperwork this week with our attorneys SP&F and the Vermont Bond Bank. The challenge that we have is that the Vermont Bond Bank has approved our loan request of $2.603 million. So for those who haven't been in these meetings, we were not able to get the Vermont Bond Bank loan arranged quickly enough. So back in the fall, we had to take a short-term loan from Pasumsic to cover in anticipation of the bond income. Now the bond bank has approved our request, and they intend to follow through on that either the 17th or 18th of March, I believe. And the problem is we have to do all the paperwork a certain amount of time before that day, and we can't do it until the new council members are seated. So that's why we wanted to do it tonight, and there was a fly in the ointment. We couldn't do that. So that's why we're going to have a special council meeting that night in order to make sure that the new council members know what they're signing on to. And then they will authorize all the documents hopefully on March 9th, and we'll be ready to rock and roll for the final paperwork on the 17th or 18th.
Do we also have to meet on the 3rd after voting closes?
Yes, good point. There will be a meeting of the council at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night next week, the 3rd. And that meeting will be only for the purpose of seating newly elected council members.
There's one item, any other business that's not voted on a certain ballot. That's what the whole meeting's about. And
Got it. Jim will lead us through that process. So that will be down, is it going to be down in the gymnasium?
8
So,
o'clock.
8 o'clock in the gymnasium, if anybody wants to come. It's always a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Yeah, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. Thank you for a great evening.